everybody, this is Angela Savage, the daughter of IndyCar driver Swede Savage. It's time to watch stories from motorsports. My buddy, Doug Kenny, loves to share the journey of people in racing, and he is an amazing dude. Drivers, owners, fans, and team members, watch the SFM podcast.
Hey everybody, this is Doug Kenny from Stories from Motorsports. I'd like to thank my buddy Josh Mabe for the YouTube work he did years ago that inspired me to create this platform. I'd like to thank my buddy Victor Sifton for convincing me to get back into it after my hiatus from 2017 to 2019. I have a very special treat for you all today with an amazing journey from an amazing racing figure. Drivers, start your engines. The next year was 1984, and what do you remember about that race between Rick Mears and Tom Sneva?
Well, it was that was the Rick Mears show that year. I mean, if I recall correctly, Rick was on pole and he won the race. And a lot of people would say that he made up for the year before, because a lot of people thought that Rick had a chance in '83, but. He was the strongest guy in 1984, hands down, and so the right guy won the race that day, and yeah, it was that was a long month for us. We just never really got to grips with the race car, and that just made it difficult. But nonetheless, it was not that it's supposed to be easy by any means, but we had higher hopes. But the one thing that caught us out was a year that there was a big shift, that most of the grid went to they were either Penske cars, Lola cars, or March cars, and we were sort of one of the remaining standouts, being the Primus chassis, and just a one-off build. And but the other thing that happened was Goodyear. That was the year that Goodyear converted to radial tires. So they went from bias ply configuration to a radial, and most of the off-season testing that we did between '83 and '84 with our new car was done on the bias ply, and our car was actually super fast on the bias ply tire.
So describe the 1984 Indianapolis 500, which was your second year in the race.
Well, it was there was actually the two highlights of the race. The first one was, and it was actually a low light for Gordon Johncock, but we were coming through. I was behind Johncock, and we were coming through the short chute between 3 and 4, and then going through turn 4, and then so Gordy was just a little bit in front of me, and I noticed him get a little bit wonky. And I say wonky, like he started to lose the back end of the car a little bit, sort of midway through 4. And he went up to the outside, and he started this long sort of hook slide. And he went up, and he didn't hit the outside wall, which was amazing. But then he went and he spun in. So he spun in, but spun down, but he spun at a trajectory. And now I'm coming through turn 4, and I'm like looking, sort of with my eyes, I'm like looking that way. I'm like going, holy shit, he's literally going to thread the needle, go right into the pit lane. Now, we were one of the first pit stalls towards pit in. Mm-hmm. So I think we were like 3rd or 4th in there, but we were very close to the pit in. So in those days, of course, we had the pit board man would stand in a little grass strip between the fast lane and pit lane, because no pit lane speed limit in those days either. Mm-hmm. So there was a little grass strip. You had like 4 or 5 feet of grass, and then the wall that the cars were on the track. So my pit board man, this guy Erwin Jan, a Chicago attorney, good friend of mine, he was the pit board man. So he's watching cars on the track. So he obviously sees Johncock spinning into the pits. Now this is all happening 200 miles an hour, so it's happening literally within seconds. it's like slow motion in my eyes. So I see Gordy spin in, I'm like going, uh-oh. So I start going through 4. Now I know there's going to be a yellow anytime, so I'm sort of just backing off. So now I'm past it, but I know that he's crashing the pit lane. So I like get on the radio. I'm like, is everything all right in there? And they come back. He goes, oh, he almost killed Irwin. Because so what Gordy, he was out of control, obviously, but what happened to him is he hit the inside pit wall, the one that protects the teams, and then ricocheted back across the two lanes of traffic in the pits. Now he's going backwards and like right in and like literally crashed into like our box that had the pit sign and all of our numbers. And Irwin, like the rear wing of John Cox's car was like right over Irwin's head. And so that was Irwin's 15 minutes of fame was almost getting mowed down by Gordy crashing into the pits. And that was a big story. We all went out for Chinese after the race that night, and Irwin was the celebrity that night because he was the one that's literally survived death on that day. So Irwin was our hero and our celebrity for the day, and it was pretty funny. As I recall, the Indianapolis Star actually wrote a story on Irwin surviving the crash in the pits. And all joking aside, it was a close call, and he was lucky. I'd like to give him credit for managing to get out of the way, but I think it was more a matter of he just sort of ducked and hoped for the best, and for whatever reason, John Cox didn't lay a hand on him. So that was pretty interesting. But so that was the 15th place finish for us. Not running, the car broke. Just I don't know, it was about 15 or so laps to go. We broke an input shaft, and as I spoke about earlier, taking care of the car, those are the types of things that would break in those days. And it was an input shaft let go on the back straightaway. And so what happens with that is you just lose drive to the rear wheels, and it spikes because now you have your foot 100% on the throttle, and all of a sudden there's no drive to the wheels, so you get an automatic over rev. So you've not only broken an input shaft, but you've damaged the engine severely because you've gone into an unrestricted over rev, where the engine's freewheeling without any resistance. So that was the end of our day. And but P15, is what it is. But look, I got to do 2 Indy 500s, and that was something that if you'd asked me in May of 1982, if you'd have said, would you ever race an Indy 500, I would have said no. And oddly enough, it was in August of that same year, I did my first IndyCar race in Riverside. So, it's just, the reason I bring that up is it wasn't a lifelong dream of mine to be in that race. It wasn't even something that I was thinking about. It's just where my path took me. And looking back on it, I was very, very fortunate to have had the opportunity and to have had and to have done well, looking back on it, like the results don't mean anything to me. It was the opportunity to be with the people and make friends, the Lee Kunzmans, the Wayne Learys, the Joe Kennedys, the John O'Garas, all of the guys on our team, Wad, and just so many others. That's what I remember most. Forget the stuff that happened on the track. That's meaningless right now.
Got it. So what do you remember about Rick Mears dominating that race and then Tom Sneva almost pulling off a second consecutive win before breaking?
Actually, not much. I really don't. Sorry to buzzkill your story. I really don't remember much. I remember a lot about the guys that I was racing. I spent a lot of time on the track with around George Snyder and let's see who's around there. Steve Chassis, George Snyder. Who were some of the other guys? Poncho. there was a bunch of us that were sort of always just, in and out of the pit cycles, and you sort of always end up back together again. I remember sort of spending a lot of time with Rutherford. I think, no, he hurt himself the year. I don't know, but yeah, I remember sort of just being around sort of the same guys, but never really. I was probably just trying to stay out of their way is what I was trying to do. Mears and Sneva.
Hey everybody, I hope you enjoyed today's video. Please hit like and subscribe if you did so, and please continue supporting our amazing guest. And everybody, we'll see you next time on SFM.
Hi, this is Ted Warner speaking. While the checkered flag is waved for this program, stay tuned for next week for the next episode of SFM. Thanks to Doug Kenny for what he does for motorsports.